Coming up with the correct plan is one of the most difficult, but also one of the most important parts of chess. I created a video in the past called the top 10 middle game plans, where I went through some specific things that you can do as plans. This video is going to be a little bit different. In this video, I'm going to give you a step-by-step process that you can follow in any situation, in any game, to come up with the best plan. Now, before we jump right into the step-by-step process, I want to say thank you to all of my new patrons. I just launched a Patreon page a couple days ago, and there's 11 new patrons. So I wanted to say thank you. Tara, Anthony, Zachary, Hip Hip Array, Tim, Devin, Sven, Timon, Lucas, Sterla, and Carlin. Thank you guys so much. I really do appreciate the support. And by the way, I'm actually going to start competing in over-the-board tournaments again for the first time in over 7 years. And the tournament recaps and the games that I play are going to be posted on the Patreon page early, 48 hours early before they go live on YouTube. So if you're interested in that, all levels of the Patreon get access to that. So check it out. There's a link in the description below. But I know you guys are excited to get into the video and figure out how to make plans in chess. So let's get started. All right, now the target audience for this video is really going to be players rated over 1200. And let me explain why that's the case. If you are rated under 1200 and you're wondering, okay, I'm under 1200, but what should my plan be when I play a game? My advice to you is don't make plans. And I know that's ironic, right? You're watching a video on how to make plans and I tell you don't make plans. Here's the deal. What I have noticed is that a lot of players under 1200, they get caught up in their mind with the plan that they're trying to execute or come up with or follow through with or whatever, that they just miss basic mistakes and they make blunders and they end up losing pieces kind of along the way to completing their plan, to the point where it makes the plan irrelevant. And so my advice would be, like, let's just say that there's two players. There's two 1200 players. One of them is really focusing on making a really nice and solid plan, but they kind of mess up on the execution and they make a couple mistakes along the way and blunder a few pieces. The other 1200 has no idea what plan to do, but they play very solid chess. They don't make a lot of mistakes and they capitalize on their opponent's mistakes. Who do you think is going to win the game? It's going to be the 1200 who doesn't make the mistakes, I can tell you, most of the time. So my advice is, if you're under 1200, just focus on not making mistakes, and you're going to be surprised at how far that takes you. Like, it really will take you very far. Even if you have to shuffle your rooks back and forth because you're making safe moves and you're not making mistakes and blundering anything away, that's better than coming up with some really brilliant plan, but then just kind of messing it up along the way. Okay, that being said, if you are over 1200, or you feel like you're, maybe you're under, but you have a good handle on blunders and you don't make a lot of really big mistakes, let's go ahead and jump into the 6-step process that you want to follow to come up with a good plan. All right, so step number 1 in this process is coming up with a list of priorities. So you need to have a mental list in your head of whatever position you're playing. What is the most important thing? What is the next most important thing? What's the thing below that? What's the thing below that? Every feature about the position from top to bottom, like what's the most important, and then all the way down, okay? And you might say, well, how do I come up with that? Well, I'm going to tell you. So number 1, okay, and this is obvious, but I have to say it just so everybody's on the same page. Are there any checkmates? Like, are you about to get checkmated? Is your opponent about to get checkmated? That's at the top of the list, okay? Like, if there's like a potential mate threat, or even a 2 or 3 move threat, or it looks like there could be, but you're not sure, but there might be, that's a top priority, okay? And then also hanging pieces. So are there any pieces that are just hanging, like your queen's about to get captured, or your rook's about to get captured, or your opponent's rook is just sitting there to be taken? Those things would be next on the list. And then after that, which most games don't have those things, right? Unless you're a very low rated player. But above 1200, most games aren't going to have those, okay? So the next thing would be king safety. And by the way, this position on the board is just a random, I was just following some of the top moves on Lead Chess Database, and we came up with this random position. But we're going to use this as an example here in just a second. The next thing on the list, well, actually, I'll just go ahead and do it. Are there any checkmate threats immediately? No. Are there any hanging pieces where anybody could just take a free piece? No. Okay, so we're going to move on. The next step is king safety. So whose king would you say is safer? Well, what I would do is I would start with my king, and I think my king looks very safe. I'm castled. I don't see a lot of danger. And then I'll go to my opponent's king. And I actually think my opponent's king is not very safe at the moment. So we're going to come back to this in a second, but this is something to definitely keep an eye on. All right, so the next thing is what I'm calling awkward pieces. And I always start with the queens and the rooks on this and then move to the other pieces. So are there any queens or rooks that are awkward? Now, what does awkward mean? If they're going to be pinned or trapped, or they're just look out of place, or, you know, in a weird spot, anything like that. Now in this position, everything is pretty normal. None of my rooks are going to get trapped. None of my opponent's rooks are going to get trapped. The queens aren't going to get pinned or anything like that. So we can move on. And the next thing you want to do is check knights and bishops. So awkward pieces as far as knights and bishops. This knight would be an awkward piece because it's kind of pinned here. And so I would consider that something that, okay, this is kind of a, you know, an important one. Other than that, nothing's really awkward. Everything kind of looks, you know, pretty natural, pretty normal. Nothing is jumping out at me. So I'm going to move on to the next part of this step, which is weak pawns. So are there any weak pawns in this position? Well, this is an isolated pawn. So this would definitely be something. It's already blockaded, so it can't really move. And there's potentially two pieces attacking it. Okay, so here's the first pawn. Backward pawns would also fall in this category. Doubled pawns would also fall in this category. Now, this position doesn't have a lot of weak pawns. I would say it's mostly just this one. Maybe you could argue this could be weak because, you know, we could attack that, but it's really, you know, not so much like an isolated pawn is. All right, the next thing would be weak squares. So are there any squares on the board that just look kind of weak? This position, there's actually not a lot of weak squares. You know, d3, maybe because no pawns can control it. That comes to mind. Now the bishop is controlling it. The queen's probably going to be controlling it once this moves. So maybe not, but you want to be looking for squares where pawns can't attack. Because if pawns can attack it, you really never want to put any other piece there. The pawn's just going to take it. But whenever you have squares that no pawns can attack, that could potentially be an outpost for a knight or a bishop or a rook, or, you know, some piece to kind of sit and be annoying. And so that's why this square d3 jumped out at me, because there's no pawns, right, attacking it. Other than that, there's not much in this position. Now, if black were to, like, let's say move this pawn up, well, then these would become weak squares that I would start thinking about. Or if they move this pawn up, these would become weak squares. So hopefully you get the idea there. And then the last thing is piece imbalances. So what is a piece imbalance? Well, if there's, you know, let's say my opponent moves all their pieces onto the queen side and I move all my pieces onto the king side. All right, well, then that would be kind of an imbalance. Or maybe my opponent's queen is over here, but there's a bunch of like minor pieces of mine on next to the queen. That's kind of like a weird sort of not natural imbalance in the position. So you might want to pay attention to that. So things like that. Now, this position doesn't have a lot of imbalances. You know, you got two minor pieces here. You got two minor pieces in the center. The rooks and the queens are pretty much the same. So not much happening there, but these are the things you want to think about. All right, so now that we've kind of gone through that entire list of all those different things, what's the one that was closest to the top of the list that I mentioned, that I said we were going to come back to, right? It was this open e-file and the fact that black's king is not really in a safe spot, right? So of all the things that we just looked at, I would hone in on that one and say, okay, that's probably something to think about as far as making a plan. So obviously rook to e1 check seems like a good move right away. The other thing that I remember I mentioned the pin here on the knight, right? This is kind of an awkward piece. So maybe getting out of the pin would be another thing that I would kind of hone in on. Now, remember, at this point, we're only on step 1. Okay, so there's still 5 more steps to go. So we're not going to make any move yet. We're still thinking through what the plan should be, right? But that's step 1. We've gone through all those things. Now, at this point, if you're thinking, wow, Nelson, this is only step 1 and I'm already feeling a little bit overwhelmed. Well, I would say, number 1, chess is complex. And if you don't like complexity, you might try checkers, tic-tac-toe, Monopoly. There's a lot of other options that you could potentially play, but we're talking about chess here and it's just a complex game. Now, that being said, this gets easier with time, okay? So the first time you hear all this stuff, you're gonna be like, oh my gosh, that's a lot of different things. Well, yeah, it is, but it gets easier as you do it and it doesn't take so long and it doesn't seem so overwhelming. All right, anyway, that's step number one. Let's go ahead and move on to step number two. So step number two, you want to ask yourself a very important question, and that is, should I be attacking or should I be defending? So if you go to that priority list that we talked about and you figure out, okay, what were the things that were at the top of the list? Well, the biggest thing was that our opponent's king was a little bit exposed. What does that mean? Well, that means we should probably attack. Now, if it was the other way around, like let's say Black's king was castled and our king was in the center, I'm going to say, okay, I'm probably going to be on the defensive in this position because my king is the one that's in the worst spot. But because it's not, it's Black's king, I would say we want to be attacking. Now, there was this threat, which, you know, remember that's a little bit lower on the list, right? The top priority was king safety. And then we had the awkward pieces where you would consider this an awkward piece. So if Black's king was already, you know, castled, then I would probably say, you know what, I think the biggest feature in this position is this pin, and I'm going to be on the defensive here and figure out how to deal with this. Okay, so hopefully that can kind of give you a clue, depending on what the priority list was, should I be attacking or should I be defending? Okay, so that's step number two. All right, now step number three is, should you be making a short-term plan or a long-term plan? So this basically comes down to what type of position are you in? Is it a more tactical, sharp position, or is it a kind of a slower, strategic position? All right, so as an example, I just switched over to an opening. This is the King's Gambit. This is one of the crazy lines where you sacrifice a piece as white and you get some wild positions. But in a position like this, if you're trying to figure out what the plan should be, you don't have time to say, you know what, I think I would like to, you know, maneuver this knight over maybe to here and probably bring this rook over and get this. Maybe I'll even actually double up my rooks and like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like, you don't have time for that. Like, there's a discover check here. There's this tension. You know, there's this. There's so much things that are happening immediately. You don't have time for a 2, 3 move plan. You got to choose something very quick, right? So that's very different. Let me switch over here to a game like this where it's like, okay, you know, everything is kind of locked up. There's not a lot of tension, a little bit here with some pawns, but other than that, you could potentially do a 3, 4 move plan, right? Like maybe king g1, rook over, start pushing these pawns. That's a 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe a 5 move plan, but that's legitimate in this position. You have time for that because there's no like immediate threats. So you really have to answer the question, if we go back to our original example here, do you have time for a longer plan or does it have to be a shorter plan? Now, this game, you know, is a little bit more on the sharper kind of tactical side, but not like quite as crazy as that other position. So I would say, you know, probably a shorter plan though here. I mean, I'm not going to be thinking like 3, 4 moves down the road probably because I don't know what Black's going to do in 3 or 4 moves, right? So, okay, that's step number 3. All right, so step number 4, you want to ask yourself the question, whatever plan you're contemplating. So at this point, we've already gone through kind of 3 different steps. We're starting to really hone in on what we should be doing. And you want to ask the question, can whatever threat or move or plan that I'm thinking of doing, can it be easily stopped by my opponent? Okay, and if the answer is yes, then maybe it's not the best plan. So for an example, let's just say for a second here that we're like, okay, I don't like this pin. My plan is going to be to eliminate the pin by playing the move h3. Okay, well, what's Black going to do most likely? Probably move the bishop back. Right, it's very logical, easy to see move, right? And now, are we really willing to commit and play g4 to break the pin? And if the answer is no, then did this actually accomplish what you were trying to like accomplish by breaking the pin? Not really. It was just super easy for Black to just step back. So that would be kind of an example of like, all right, the plan was very easy to stop. Now, if you were planning on committing this and opening up your king and doing something, that's different. But you understand what I'm saying? Like maybe a better option would be queen to b3, let's just say, as an idea. Are we getting out of the pin? Yes. Is it easy for Black to stop us from getting out of the pin? No, it's impossible because we just moved the piece. There's no more pin, right? So that would be an example of a good plan because it's not something that our opponent can just stop. So that's kind of the things, you know, that you want to be thinking about. All right, so step number 5. You know, at this point, you've gone through all these 4 steps. You should have a lot of ideas floating around in your head. In this example, you know, we've kind of talked about rook e1. We've talked about getting out of this pin. We've talked about maybe an isolated pawn here. And okay. Step number 5. Can you potentially achieve multiple plans at the same time? Okay, so for example, we don't like the pin. We want to put pressure on the king. Queen to e1 check is a move that kind of does both of those things at the same time. We're no longer pinned, and we're not letting black castle. Remember, you can't castle and check. So we're kind of accomplishing 2 things at the same time. Now, I'm not saying that this is the best move in this position. I don't think that it is. I think it's probably better to play rook e1 check. These are the things that you want to think about, because sometimes you have moves that it's like, oh yeah, I can actually, you know, deal with this threat that I was worried about and attack something at the same time. And those moves are usually really, really strong when you can accomplish multiple things at the same time. So going back to this queen b3 move, that's kind of a cool looking move now that I think about it, because, well, we're number one, we're getting out of the pin, and we're also kind of creating some attack, you know, some threats. And so we're doing that at the same time. Kind of a cool idea. So that's definitely something I would think about. All right, so at this point, let's say you've done all of those 5 steps and you've come up with some idea, some move that you want to play to go forward with whatever plan you decide on, right? The last step, okay, this is very important, is you have to check for specific tactics before you play that move. Make sure that you're not just like blundering something, right? Going back to the you know, under 1200s, a lot of times they will, oh yeah, this is a good plan, I'm going to do this and this, and they just forget, oops, I just dropped my queen, or oops, I just, you know, didn't see that fork, or whatever. So let's just take an example. Let's say we say, you know what, we're going to go with queen b3 because we want to get out of the pin and we want to create this pressure here. It looks like a good move. All right, cool. Before we move it, we would want to ask ourselves, you know, what's black going to do? What about knight a5? This is kind of a tactical move that I would want to make sure I consider, because, well, now these are being attacked. It kind of defends here. You know, it doesn't look like we can capture that because our queen's going to be capped. Okay, so it looks like maybe we lose our bishop. Is that really what we want to do? That's what you have to think about, right? You know, rook e1 check is kind of an easy move to play because there's not really a lot of tactics involved with that. It's a check, and we know black's going to have to do something. But you know, let's just say your move was knight e4 for whatever reason. I don't know why, but you know, you would want to think through, okay, are there going to be any tactics now that I've undefended my knight? There's a knight here, and I don't know if black can do something sneaky and take that, or maybe take here first would be a tactic, and then take here, right? Like, now you have to think, well, do I have something cool I can do here? Or there's a lot happening here, right? Like, I'm not sure what the best move is, but that's what you want to think through before you just commit to some plan, right? And double check that the tactics work out in your favor. All right, so those were the 6 steps. Now, I realize that probably seemed like a lot of information and a lot to do, but like I said, you know, chess is not easy. We're not playing checkers here. But really, it comes more naturally the more you do it, and it's not as bad as I made it seem in this video. I wanted to be thorough and cover everything, but really your brain can kind of pick up on a lot of those things very quickly, and you can just go boom, 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 boom down the list and accomplish all 6 steps pretty quickly. But if you are going through all of those 6 steps before you come up with a plan in your games, I think it's really going to help you a lot. Let me know if you have questions, comments, something that you feel like I missed or you would like to know more information on. I would love to read those. And now the most important thing that I recommend you do is go watch this video right here, where I talk about how to attack in chess and attacking principles. And because once you come up with a plan, if your plan is to attack the opponent's king, well, you're going to want to know how to do that. So make sure you watch that video if you haven't already. Thank you guys. As always, stay sharp, play smart, and take care.